goals, which was keep changes pretty minimal unless required. And right now we think the pace of combat is a little fast. So any change we made had to be turning damage down because we want to get pace of combat to be a little bit better. So, okay. One of the things I mentioned, we were already getting some learnings around from set 2. One of the learnings we're seeing is how 1-cost units should scale. 1-cost units in particular, because they're pretty easy to 3-star, probably shouldn't have very dramatic scalings. And so in that regard, a lot of these changes you're going to see are about making 3-star 1-cost still good, but not like double your spell power kind of good. In addition, we targeted some of the major hyper roll comps, lights in particular. We saw like 3-star Vayne and 3-star Nasus be really, really good. 3-star Vlad is actually bonkers. And lastly, Woodland Druid especially was always meant to be a non-hyper roll comp. So again, we're pulling some power out there. With the 3-starring of units, as I mentioned, we've been learning a bit about the scalings. With this set, what we did with 4 and 5 costs was if you 3-star them, their spell goes bonkers, right? Like the 20 bounces, the 9999 Lux. And that's been good. It's been fun. People are actually chasing 3 costs now. I see chat spamming 3-star brand all day. Like, yeah, it's fun. It's exciting. And I mentioned earlier that 1-cost units, though, probably shouldn't have much scaling because they're pretty easy to 3-star. Well, so obviously in the middle of that is 2 and 3-star. 2 and 3-star units are a bit more challenging to 2 and 3 cost units are a bit harder to 3-star, so they should have some scaling. So what we're doing is for 2 costs, they get a little bit of scaling. It's about a 20%. So for Olaf has proven some good things here. It finally proved we can make a melee carry, which is good. Olaf is doing exactly what we wanted. He's a 4-cost Berserker. He's the cornerstone of a Berserker comp, doing really well. But he's getting it a little too freely. We like when he gets off and he gets Berserker, he's strong. Like, that's what he's supposed to do. It fits the fantasy. We just want to make it a little less free. So 15 more mana to get that cast off. Once you get that cast off, he's a terror. But we are seeing counters. Ace of Spades already talked about this as well, that like there is a way to take him out. So we're pretty comfortable with this as being the nerf. No, this will definitely not destroy Olaf out of the game. Diana Orbs, so here's the one everyone's been asking for. Diana Orbs can no longer hit multiple units each. So what was happening was a single orb would hit like 4 units and cause massive damage. Doesn't really make sense with how small the orbs are. So what's happening is each orb can now only hit 1 target. They still hit just as hard. If this ends up being too big a nerf, we can buffer. But remember, she is a 1-cost unit, and so this actually makes sense. She is an assassin. She's supposed to kill 1 target, not be a giant AoE clusterfuck. No, it does not. It's just a spell. Yeah, we want an Ezreal to be a proper carry, possibly, so... Yeah, Ezreal Ludens would be totally viable here. He's kind of the Lucian of this set, from last set, so... Alright, 4 and 5 costs. Ashe has been underperforming as a Ranger. And Ashe is supposed to be the Draven of the Ranger comps. Ashe is supposed to be very strong. We over-nerfed her from PBE to make sure that Rangers weren't just like dominating everything. The other thing is Ashe and Twitch have separate identities. Ashe is supposed to be the fast caster, and Twitch is supposed to be the hard hitter. We'll talk about Twitch a little later. But for now, Ashe gets a very big attack speed buff. For people saying 0... lastly is Ionic Spark. Ionic Spark's a weird item. I'll say personally as a designer, I don't like it because it's so boring. It's just like you sit there and eventually damage happens. It's really punishing to people like Ezreal and Kindred. We've also seen it take off with Predator, be quite good there. But basically, if this item is ever in an overpowered state, the game ends up really boring, where you're standing around and things are slowly dying. So we're giving it a 10% nerf. 10% shouldn't kill the item, should still be just fine, just not quite as powerful. So, fixed. Hooray! We fixed the bug where Iceborne Gauntlet's attack speed slow would persist across rounds. That was an annoying ass one. Inferno Cinder now properly works on Redectin, Jax, Rek'Sai, Vayne, and Nami's Tidal Wave and powered attacks. So this is a complicated one, but let's say you have an Inferno Nami, and she casts the wave and hits your Yi. Your Yi now has the bonus damage. Your Yi's auto attacks will now apply Inferno. So the wave was already working, but the bonus damage wasn't. So, in fact, here's a fun fact. If you put a Morello on Nami and a Morello hits a Yi, Yi's auto attacks are now applying Morello. So, that's already working. Spatula items now correctly no longer double the spatula stats. Some of the spatula items were still giving double stats, even though they weren't supposed to. And lastly,